Okay, so this is part 2 of 3 with crepes, and today I'm going to show you some knife skills for your ingredients, especially for the strawberries and the orange garnish, as well as how to actually cook your crepe. So first up, we have to make sure that we wash these beautiful strawberries very good. And strawberries tend to go bad fast, so make sure that you buy them really fresh. Check the bottom of the package. Okay, see if they're moldy or mushy. Give them a nice gentle wash. You know, don't be rough with them. Don't toss them in the colander. Just, nice and easy. Give them a nice wash. Make sure there's no dirt on them or anything like that. Sometimes these guys get a little sandy. All right, lay them out to air dry. Look how pretty. Okay, at this point, I like to separate them. The large ones and the small ones, and then the ones that kind of look like they're a little beat up, like this one has a little soft spot here and there. So, I may use him for another application, or I may just dice him up and put him on the inside. Just because it's a little mushy doesn't mean I'm going to throw it out. I just don't want it on the front. So now for our strawberry Nutella crepes, you want to get slices. So remember our claw method, and just with the tip of the knife drag it back and get nice thin slices, about 1/4 of an inch or so. Don't worry about the consistency because it's going to go inside. It's not for a presentation or garnish on the plate. So really nice and easy. Just slice it. Okay, and don't throw out that end. We're going to use it, and you'll see in a couple minutes what I application for. So put it in a mise bowl or your mise en place bowl and set it aside with the rest of your mise en place. Now another way here to garnish, to make a beautiful little floret, after I slice just one more. And remember, when we're doing knife skill stuff, just take your time. Speed is not a factor. You have to learn how to properly do that stuff, and don't throw away those ends. Okay, we're going to use them. Any chef sees you doing that in the real kitchen, they'll lose their mind. All right, so real quick, we're going to slice without slicing all the way through the top of the green part of the stem. We're going to make these little slits, and in doing so, we're going to be able to fan it out on the plate and make a pretty little garnish. You see, you kind of spread it out like a deck of cards, like you're playing poker, and then you'll put that on the plate. Press down on the root right there where the stem meets the plant. Okay. Just be very careful when you're doing knife skills like this. You could also quarter them. Also shows the inner anatomy of the strawberry. They're really nice and beautiful naturally, and those always look good in a garnish. And you've seen this before if you've been seeing my lessons, as well as on cheese platters. They look nice too. So now let's get to the orange. So the orange we're going to use pretty much for a little garnish here and there. It's just a simple orange trio, very basic. You could do this with any citrus. You could do the same thing if you were doing, like, say, a chicken franchise. You could do the same kind of garnish by doing a nice tuile. All right, so you want thin slices, about 1/4 inch or so. Make sure they're nice ones that don't have like an uneven pith. So cut slices in until you see a good cross section. So we're getting there right now. So you're going to take them, stack them up, and you're not going to cut them in half. You're going to cut right below that first membrane where that white pith is, right there, you see? And just cut it right there, and then you're able to just twist it. Real simple, nice little tuile. You could put it on the crepes. You could do it with lemons, like I said, for chicken dishes and stuff like that. If you've ever gotten like filet of sole or chicken franchise, you see they do that method. So these tips, right? We never throw them out. Some restaurants use them in purees and smoothies, in teas, in many applications. We don't waste anything, just that green bit. And if there was a way for a chef to make us use that green bit, they probably would figure out a way, but you don't get much flavor out of that. So you're just gonna dice them up, and we're gonna use this in a cheesecake filling that I'm gonna just make in our next video. Even though I wanted to make this one last video, but it's way too long. So I'm just splitting it up into 2 more. So just dice them up and put them aside with your mise en place. Also, if you like nuts for some texture, I have some chopped pistachio. All right, so you see our blueberry sauce from yesterday. It's really set up nice in the fridge. Look at that beautiful color. All right, so now our mise en place is pretty much set. We got our whole team ready. So let's make our crepes. So you see our consistency is perfect. It's kind of milky, almost like cream-like, okay? It's not thick like pancake batter, it's very loose. If it's not loose, you will not be able to swirl it in the pan or even on a cast iron skillet. So let's talk about a ladle. So I ladle 2 ounces. If you don't have a 2-ounce ladle, use a 2-ounce or a 1/4 cup measuring cup. Okay. See, look, the consistency is nice and runny. That's what we want. And like I said before, make sure you take it out a while so the butter doesn't glob up on you. Alright, so let's get this pan on medium-high heat and let it preheat for a little bit. Okay. Not too high. So get a paper towel ready. You're going to just put a little dab of oil in there, a little on the pan as well when the pan is hot enough. Get your batter ready on the side. So this is part of mise en place as well. Make sure you're ready to go. Alright, so once I get my crepes, I'm going to transfer them to the other side. So crepes like this, if you're doing a lot, you do them in advance and then you fill them, which we'll do in tomorrow's video. Alright, so put a little oil when it's at temperature, swirl it, see if it's hot enough. It's kind of similar to when we would fry an egg or an omelet. At this point, the pan is still not hot enough, not yet. So let's wipe out the excess. Just be careful if you do it like this. You could also use tongs so you don't have to directly be in contact with the paper towel. Alright, now we're going to pour this into the center and then swirl. Okay. Swirl it around. Use the ball joint in your wrist to just go rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. Okay, if you got a little hole, try to aim for that hole. But it has to be at a temperature where it's setting up and cooking really fast. Remember, they only need about 30 to 60 seconds, depending on how your batter is, to set up and cook. All right. Once you settle these in, you can just bang them out, just one after the other, one after the other. All right, so this one is starting to bubble up. And once you get full bubbles, it's time to flip over. Okay. The other side should definitely look like the surface of the moon, and then you know it's a good color. All right, that's what I was taught. So here's another swirl. So swirl fast. It's good to have it in your dominant hand and then use the ladle at the same time. It's kind of tricky, but keep swirling. You see that swirl? Make sure all that batter dries out as you're rotating the pan. Okay. I made a little mess there. I'm so sorry. But I clean. I'm the one that cleans everything. Alright, cool. So it's starting to bubble up. You see the steam coming up. Alright, if you look carefully, you can see some bubbles starting to rise up underneath. Okay, give it a little shake. Okay, now I'm going to use a spatula to just tap it off the edges because it is kind of a curled up pan, just to get it loose. And I'll show you another way to get it loose. Okay. So give it a shake and now flip all in the wrist. Bring it towards the end of the pan. Bring it towards the end, and then you're going to flip it. Okay. But you got to make sure it's got enough traction. So I let it get a little more hot. The heat will get it more slippery. Okay, that crust will be formed, and then flip. Got to make sure you have it towards the bottom end of the pan before you flick it back with your wrist. And that's a little tricky, but that's something you could work on, or just try to flip it with the spatula as best you can. Another method, and get your parents' permission before you start knocking pans on their furniture, is that, you know, in the kitchens we do this against the counter or a steel stove. You knock it and you see how it just came loose from the pan. Bring it back over and see how nice and loose it is, and flip it. And now we have that beautiful surface of the moon effect going on, and we're good to go. So tomorrow we'll continue this project by filling them.